Make we share the stories of the elders them who travel across big water for build Great Britain.
Come listen story now.
Which is a very, it's almost deadly experience. It's almost deadly. And I did have that experience where I did die in childbirth. And had the out of the body experience. Went on my travels, met an aunt who I didn't know had passed, and she asked me to stay with her in this beautiful place that I went to. And I had to say to her, "Gosh, it's so lovely here. It's great here, but I'm just giving birth, right? And my son really needs me. He needs me more than you." And having said that, I found myself back into the hospital ward, right, where I'd just given birth. And I felt my spirit connected to my body. And my mother was in the same ward, because they'd called her and told my mom, "Look, she's going to die. She's got a blood pressure that she won't live. So you should come. If you want to see her for the last time, you should come now." And my mother was in the room crying, and I could see her, but she couldn't see me. And I was trying to touch her, and I couldn't communicate with her. But after this journey, after I made the decision that I couldn't stay with this woman, who I think was an aunt, and I came back into the room where I was lying, and connected back to my body, and woke up from that death sleep. And the doctors came in and was amazed that I was alive. That I'd connected back. I was back because I had a greater good. My son, he was what brought me back, right? But even then, that was a bad experience, because I actually died. I gone to the doctors, right? But fought my way back, right? So that would have been a negative experience. But then it's not negative, because I look back at it and think, gosh, that's not many people get a chance to to do that. Right? So I thought, wow, I got a chance to do that.
Yeah.
I got a chance to die and escape death, right?
Choose to
so
live.
when you go to funerals and they say death holds no, death, where is that? I can't paraphrase it really well now. But it was like, death is the ultimate, it holds you.
Yeah.
But I managed to escape that, I escaped that. So I thought that was really, really, really good to have done that. Right. So, So that would be the most horrible thing that I can actually think that actually happened to me.
But it was a great thing as well, because you were a mother.
Yeah, I was a mother, and I'd done that. And I told my mother what happened, and she said to me never to speak of it.
Why do you think that? You see, sorry, Hugh. This is why I don't do everything. Why do you think that is? Is it because was your mum quite religious, and this is like? No,
she knew that. I told her that I could tell her what she was wearing, what happened, what she was doing in the room, and I could only know that if I was seeing her, right? And she said to me not to speak of it, because people would think that I was crazy.
Yeah,
right.
Now, I always think about people who are very spiritual.
Yeah.
Yeah, not necessarily religious, but spiritual.
Yeah.
And it's like when they've got these gifts.
Yeah.
Because there's people who can touch and
about
know somebody's life, past lives or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, sometimes you've got these gifts, but you're scared to share them or talk about them because people again are going to say you're as mad or whatever.
I told my mum what happened to me, and of course she never had that experience, so she said to me, never speak of this to anyone, because they're going to label you. They're going to say you're crazy, right? And so I didn't speak about it for years, till one day I was reading a Sunday Times magazine. I had the Sunday Times, and I read the magazine, and in the magazine was this woman who had exactly the same experience as me, and I was thinking, shit, I thought it was just me, right? And here's this woman, but I was pleased that it wasn't my thing. It wasn't a secret. It wasn't about me per se. That other people has had this unique experience as well, right? And so when I realized it wasn't just me, right, I began to share with people who I came into contact with about this experience. And I found that it was called an out-of-the-body experience, and that it happened to other people, you know, and it was unique and it was, you know, special.
It's amazing.
Going back home now, what was your first experience going back home?
Oh, boy! Oh, man!
How did that make you feel?
Oh, man! Well, I was always going home.
Yes.
Right? And so I was, I left at 7, and I was only managing to this. I was 29. So from 7 to 29, I was working. For me, being here was leading up to going back.
Yeah.
Right? And so age 29, I'd accomplished, you know, I'd got some money, I'd worked, I got my own place, I got a flat, right? I got my son now, he was 7, right? So he would be the age that I came here.
Yes.
And I was now I was at a stage where I was going back home, right?
Yes.
So it was full of excitement for me that I was going back where I belong. And so we booked the tickets, British Airways, going back to St. Kitts, arrived in St. Kitts. And when we got to St. Kitts, I think, did we go to Nevis first?
We took the little boat across.
Yeah, I forgot about Nevis. I was more interested in St. Kitts. When I got to St. Kitts, I asked the bus to stop before I got to Old Road.
Yeah.
And I asked the bus to put me off around Old Road Bay before I get into the village, right? Because it's all in my head,
Yes.
right? And I'm saying, Mrs. Tyson's house, Sunday school, right? Mr. Walwyn's shop, Little River, right? I knew I was walking down the road. This was like 300 yards.
Yeah.
And I'm walking down the road and I'm placing the things that I left. All my school, right?
So this is
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's because it's here.
Yeah.
It's in my head, it's in my heart, right? And so I knew that, so I got off the bus and I just wanted to do it myself, right? And I walked into Old Road, the town of Old Road. I walked into the town of Old Road and walked to where? My grandmother's house, and went down to my grandmother's house. She'd passed by then. She'd passed, while I was here. But I went in and my aunt was in the house. My auntie Jenny was in the house. And I asked my auntie for a dress that my grandmother had worn and to give it to me. And she brought a white dress. And I wrapped the dress around me and just tried to inhale the smell and to conjure up my grandmother, because I knew she wouldn't be far.
Yeah.
Now that I was back and I was in her house, she wouldn't be far. And I was just in there, just wrapped in her dress, right? Just wrapped in her dress for a long while. Yeah.
Had many things changed? So you obviously put into memory St. Kitts.
Yeah.
And when you came back, was there a huge difference?
So I left in 61, 1961, and I went back in 1979. All Road hadn't changed. No. In fact, this is a funny thing. This is so funny. When I was leaving, there's a woman, what's her name? Oh God, my memory's gone bad now these days. But I left her, she would be selling nuts.
Yeah.
And sugar cake, which is grated coconut with sugar, right? She was also on the road with a tray, right? Because these women did little things like that. You know, they only did like penny things, and they were being entrepreneurial. This was because we have a saying back home: one gather, make penny makes a pound. You know what I mean, right? One get full basket, right? You put one in, you put another one in, your basket's soon full, right? So I left her selling peanuts and stuff like that. And when I got back there, the bloody woman was sat there all these years later doing the same damn thing, right? So nothing had changed. Nothing had changed.
And how many times have you gone back to St Kitts? So
Yeah.
you went.
Yeah.
Your son was
1970.
7.
Yeah.
And so, how many times after that? And then when did you decide to build? Or
Okay.
was that always
So
going?
I
Was
went
that always
back
the plan?
77, and I said, okay. When I came back to England, I said, so everything I do now, every penny I earn, I have to put a penny to going back home.
Yeah.
Right. So I knew then I was now transitioning, that I'd be I would be making a move. I didn't know how long it would take me, but I knew whatever I did from that moment I got back from St. Kitts, it was to go back to St. Kitts, but on a permanent basis. You know the saying, no matter where you may wander, no matter where you may home, there's no place like home.
Yeah.
Right. Well, for me, because I'm other brothers and sisters, and they're not interested in going back to St. Kitts. But for me, St. Kitts is home, right? I'm at peace there, right? So yes. What was your question?
Mine was just like, how many times? When did you think
Oh,
about
so-
like building?
So
And
we went back. I went back in '79 initially. That's my first. Then I went back in '88. I took Marcus back in '88, and then I went back after '88. I think I might have gone back every year since then, more or less. Yeah, that became my annual holiday.
yeah.
My annual holiday was back home, right? Every Christmas or summer holidays, it was back. I was not interested in going anywhere else. I wasn't interested in Spain or Europe. I was not going there. People was going to those places, but no, they hold no interest for me. I was going back home with my holidays.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then at least your son then has that identity.
Oh yes, because of course when I took Marcus home in '79,
The first time.
the first time, oh, he had a whale of a time, because you have chickens, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
And you have goats and sheep, and people, the goats just wander down the road free, and he would go and chase people's chickens, and and he was having a hell of a time, and I told him I knew the education at home was superior to the education here, at least until age 12. So when he was 7, I was trying to figure out how to leave him, right? How to give him that education, that home education that I knew was superior to the education here. But when he was age 12, he would come back here to do science classes, we don't have science labs at home, right? But then to do your secondary school education, you're better off here in England. And so I and his father was trying to work out a plan with family, how to make that happen. So although Marcus loved it, he was having fun, but then I think he still wanted to come back to here. So
where's home for him?
but Marcus was born here. Marcus was born here in Leeds. So for Marcus, I mean, Marcus now lives in Australia. He lives in Sydney, Australia. So I suppose we ask him for his home is in Australia. But I think his home is really back in Leeds, actually. He talks of Leeds, yeah.
Okay.
Did you face any troubles whilst Marcus was still young? Like, whilst he was in school? Was there any difficulties with that?
Yeah.
So, like, thinking about what you went through at school, what issues did you face with, like, raising him? Did you have to go to school or anything like that?
Yeah, no, because I knew who I was, and when Marcus went to school, Marcus could do all the things that was expected for a 5-year-old and more, right? Marcus had watched Roots, right, on TV with me. Marcus grew up with me, so he knew who I was, and so he could read and write and whatever. In fact, the school play, they always chose him to be the head, the lead in the nativity, the Christmas story thing. Yeah, he would be the narrator, or he would be the king and one of the kings, or something like that. And they always said to me, "Oh, Marcus is university material." and this was in prime. This was at not St Matthews, Chapeltown Primary.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying, "Oh, he's university material," right? Because I made sure that I'd prepped him. You know what I mean, right? He was prepped for school, right? That I would sit and read with him. I would sit and do with him. I would sit and, you know what I mean, right? Whatever he needed to do in school, it would be done through me, right? I paid attention to his education, so I was there for every school teacher PTA thing. I was there, never missed one, and I would question the teacher, "How's he doing?" No, how is he doing?
Yeah.
Right? Not the patter that she would give you.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't happy, I would say, "Well, what is he reading? Well, I think he can do better than that." You know, I was articulate in my communication with his teachers at school, so they knew who I was also. Yeah, and I did mess about with his education. He left there, went to St Matthews, Chapeltown, St Matthews, and then St Michael's College down in town. And the same thing applied there. When teachers tried to be funny, I would be up to school, in a professional manner, right? And then when I want to take him back to the Caribbean with me on holiday, I would, they wouldn't let you take the kids out of school for such a long time. And I said, fine. So you give me his work that he would be doing here, and I would ensure that while he's on vacation with me, the work gets done, right? So I would collect, work to take with him, and he would go to school in the Caribbean as well. You know what I mean? To see how to try out that kind of stuff. So I had no problem really here at school with Marcus as such. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Only that he was doing I got him enrolled into is it judo, taekwondo, martial arts.
Yeah.
And if he had disagreements in school with any kid, he would want to give them a kung fu. I think it was kung fu. I think he did in those days.
Yeah.
I think it was kung fu rather than taekwondo came on like later development.
Yeah.
I think it was kung fu, or whatever. And he did that, or judo anyhow. And he would, they would say, "Tell your Marcus he can't go around giving the kids high kicks and stuff like that. No, we won't tolerate that here.
God, he's defending himself.
Story not done. Stay tuned for more heritage stories. If you enjoy these stories, please subscribe, share, and tell your friend them. Unity Does MAATer presents the stories of our Caribbean African elders of the Windrush generation. Legacy stories in Chapeltown. Come and add yours. Contact Unity Does MAATer on 07732 367 190 or email unitydoesmaater MAATR@gmail.com. Your stories, our legacy.